Hi, Dad. I cannot hear you or see you yet. Oh, it still says you're connecting. Okay. I don't know. Luna, let's say hi. Connecting. So I had some tech issues, and now maybe this shouldn't be related to my tech issues, but maybe it is. Let me see. Oh,
Hi.
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 How are you doing, Dad?
We just had a food delivery, except we didn't order it, so we have to
Oh, is it from
out of East Hampton. I mean, we've never had a
someone
food
else?
delivery.
But you have no idea who?
No, it's a neighbor. He went to the first house.
Oh, oh yeah, because
Just
yeah,
come
yeah,
to the
yeah.
first house and I think that's it. How are you?
I'm good. Well, yeah, because I live on a corner. We've talked about this. People come stop at my house for the whole block.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
everyone's
Cool.
mail.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, I'm good. Sorry, I had some tech issues.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, It was funny as I was trying to get things connected and like wires and things. I was thinking, when I was a kid, my dream was never to be like a famous movie mogul, or my dream was really to have kind of a weird little pirate TV station where everything was like handmade and like broken. And that's exactly what I do. And so
Good.
I don't
I'm
know. I mean,
glad because most people feel that they haven't lived up to their youthful self-expectations, although I'm somewhat relieved that I didn't become a famous actor
yeah.
because because
Well, it's not too
I've
late.
learned that it's a tough, lonely life with a lot of waiting around, even if you're
Yeah,
famous.
no, I mean that's the part I don't think I could handle is just the
No,
waiting around and the small talk with other actor.
no, I mean it's yeah.
I guess they're all on their own phones now, but still, no. I mean, yeah, no. It doesn't sound. And the hours. I mean,
Yes, I know.
and the same thing with musicians. It's not very glamorous. I mean, it's not,
No, it's
getting
not.
up night after night after night, city after city, sleeping on a bus. I mean, it's, when the
Yeah,
actual
even if you're
realities and
making
mechanics
money,
of it, yeah,
yeah, it's a hell of a life.
yeah, for someone. But no, so how are you doing?
I'm
You're in
good.
the Hamptons.
The doctor took my staples out on Tuesday. I was released from kind of home care on Wednesday. We came out to East Hampton on Wednesday.
Yep.
I'm walking in the house pretty well without a cane. Um, and on Wednesday, I go into Montauk and I start some outpatient physical therapy.
So you found someone
So
out
I'm
there.
kind of
Yeah,
on the way, there's still pain at times.
sure.
And it's not terribly comfortable, but it seems to be according to plan, according to how
Good.
it's going. I'm all right. So yeah, so I'm just also very relieved to be out here because
Yes.
we had as I was finishing up, we were also emptying the whole loft out of stuff for
How did that
renovation.
go?
So
Yeah.
my last appointment with the nurse, the only chair that was left was the plastic shower chair that we bought for me to sit in.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
because,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because it was
Wow. I can't picture that at loft empty. I mean, it's just.
no, it's pretty well. It's
I mean,
strange.
I have actually because I think yeah, but
You
not in
probably saw it when it was empty.
once.
Anyway,
But yeah.
but I'm here and it's good. And I'll probably go into the city maybe in a couple of weeks for a day or two,
Yeah.
and just keep. I mean, I'm working from here, and that's
Yeah.
okay. So it seems to be all right.
How did you choose the
Um,
place in Montauk? the physical therapy place?
I chose it out of necessity because they were not very I mean, in the city they weren't very organized about helping me find a place, and
Right.
the doctor gave me a prescription, and the prescription is good if it's covered by my insurance at any physical therapy place.
Sure.
And the
Yeah.
two that were closer in East Hampton, but they couldn't give me an appointment until the middle of
Right.
July.
Yeah.
And this was the first place that could give me an appointment. So that's fine. Victoria will drive me there and pick me up. And meanwhile, I'm walking around with 1 pound weights on my ankles,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
which Victoria tells me gives me a 80s health nut look.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Let's get. Yeah.
uh,
Do we
how
want
about
to?
you?
Oh, God.
How was your weekend? How was the last weekend you had? Did you have pride marches last
It was,
weekend?
yeah, no, there was, yes, I did a pride. I didn't go to the parade, so, but I did do a pride just event downtown. I did a protest march, abortion rights
Right,
protest march.
right.
Um, yeah, that all went well. My week was a blur. I now have the next week off.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah, they gave it to us, but I mean, but they I don't think they're going to do it again. It was kind of like a one-time thing because it's the end of the fiscal year, and so it was kind of like a reset.
It's a
But
short week anyway because of July the
well, yeah,
4th.
no, I mean, we're obviously for that's a holiday. It's a short week anyway. And yeah, there were logistical reasons why they thought it would be a good idea, but in the end, um, it actually then like everything like timesheets, everything had to be like rushed on the last, so it actually complicated things in a weird way. But we
Yeah.
pulled it off. We'll get a week off again. I don't suspect they'll be able to do it again. We still get a week off in December, which is nice, and then we get our holidays. I get lots of paid time off. My next time, and then I'm taking off in October to go to a festival in Las Vegas. So
Oh, great. Oh,
yeah.
great. There was a big article in the Times today about Bellingham, Washington, about it being the place to go, the place to be, the place to live, the place to see art, the place to hike.
Okay,
It was,
Bellingham's pretty. Um, no, I don't have a lot to say. Yeah, no,
no, I mean, I was
yeah,
rather surprised. I mean, it's a very glowing, like it could have been written by the Bellingham
right. No, I'm
Chamber
wondering
of
how
Commerce.
that got placed. I don't, I mean, Washington State felt like kind of a non-state when I moved here. It was 10 years past sort of the grunge music era, but that's, if anything, what kind of still is known for. Now, I guess tech boom, Amazon, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess the point was people who could afford to are leaving Seattle to go to Bellingham for a
oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. The Seattle is dying narrative. That's the yeah. And there are so many people pushing that. Sure. Do a lot of people who live in the suburbs really think it's really horrible here, that they're homeless and the crime and the drugs are so bad? Do they write pages and pages and pages of articles about their opinions of that one time 6 months ago they drove through downtown but didn't actually stop anywhere, and it looked pretty scary? Those people looked pretty sketchy. Those people actually probably being me, who are like homeowners with 401ks, by the way. But yeah, okay, the Seattle is dying narrative, yeah, that's fine. I mean, yes, let them keep writing them, and let those people who are afraid of,
let them leave.
let them leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, let them leave and or not come here. Go, if Amazon gives you a job, don't come live here. Go live in Bellingham. I'm 100% fine with those articles existing and it being written, and yeah, I will add to that terror panic. Grrr! So mad and scary here. Grrr! Angry protests every day. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. Do we want to talk about the festival, the article you sent me
Oh
about?
yeah,
I thought it
Ruan
was really
Grupa.
interesting. Really
Well, I fell into this only because when I was, let's say I finished the text of the book in February. So what I'd come across and what I wanted to comment on was the fact that this big international exhibition, which is not a commercial one, it's run by the German government. It's
Yes,
every
yeah, yeah.
5 years, and it's highly respected. And what they usually do is they choose either a panel of curators, or they choose professionals in the business to make choices of artists from around the world to show. But they don't have to be X from X countries. They don't have to be, the curators can decide themselves what they want to show and how they want to show it, right?
Sure.
And it goes on all summer, and it brings a lot of art tourists and a lot of art people. But unlike an art fair, it's not a super commercial thing, although people do go to see what maybe they have, what may be new.
Sure.
So this year, or for 2022, the organizers did something that I thought was very brave and very radical. Instead of appointing a well-known professional curator or more than one, they appointed this collective of artists,
It's
from
Indonesian collective.
Indonesia.
Yes.
These are all, well, yes, quote unquote, young artists.
Sure.
And they said, okay, you guys, you do it, you choose it, all right? Like, it's your deal.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I don't know if they were aware of all the unintended consequences of doing that.
right.
But by choosing a collective, by the time I was writing, the collective had made their choices of what was going to be in the exhibition. And what was interesting to me, and what I put in my book, and this is only I only make a brief reference to it, is the fact that they chose a lot of other collectives from around the world.
Right.
They did not categorize them by nationality at all. They categorized them by time zone. They put them in a kind of their own type. They're using a philosophy that had to do with the way they live in rice farms.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a logic to that. But basically, they're also choosing a lot of other collectives.
Yes.
And implicit in that, perhaps, is unlike an individual curator, they're not going to vet what each one of these things does. In other words, they're saying, you guys, you do whatever you do. We're going to put you in Documenta. You get money to go there. You do you do your thing, right?
Yep.
And what was also impressive to me was that they chose, once they had made the list of the people that they had chosen, or collectives, they chose to publish it not in the art press or with a press release to the art world, but in a street newspaper, in a German street newspaper.
Yeah.
So I thought this is very interesting, and it's a new direction. It seems to me to be either non-market or anti-market.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically that's all I said, right? So what I didn't know, even in January, when their choices had been made, is that the state of Israel complained bitterly to the German government that there were no Jewish artists, right?
Yeah.
So that was number one. There are no Jewish artists, and maybe there were no Israeli collectives. I don't know. But the point is that immediately, because the German government and the local government, the German local government pays for this, right?
Yes.
And the German government is very beholden, obviously, to the state of Israel for all kinds of reasons, right?
Yes.
They cannot offend Israel, right?
No, I get yes. Yeah.
You get it. So that was going on. It didn't reach the art. That was going on locally.
Right.
That was going on in Germany locally. So then when it opened, which was 2 weeks ago, right? One of the collectives chosen
Yeah.
had exhibited a 20-year-old flag or
Right.
poster, right? And it included an image that was probably as offensive to the Jewish community as Charlie Hebdo's images of Muhammad were
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
offensive to the Muslim community,
Yeah.
right? And the German and the Israeli press went absolutely
Yep.
ape shit over it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, this was front page news. And my editor sent me an email saying you have to delete reference to Ruan Grupa from the book. This is
Right.
like, it's already, they're about to print it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reference to Ruan Grupa in my book had nothing to do with I mean, it had to
Yeah.
it didn't address these issues.
Right.
Although,
No. Right.
although I did point out that there was a Lebanese artist in Austria who had been unawarded a grant because he would not reject the boycott, divestment, and sanction
Yeah.
policy. He said, they said, well, if you have to say you're against this.
Right.
And he wouldn't. And I didn't mention that in the book, but unfortunately, but I mean, that doesn't seem to bother anybody, right? So I said, no. I said, look, I don't write this book for one nationality.
Okay, can I just interject for a moment? And we don't have to name them, but your publisher is German, and this is
well,
just,
that's the whole point. The whole
no,
point.
that's important to,
The whole
I know,
point is that what the shift between 10 years ago, my publisher was American and in New York. They were bought by a German company, and the German company is very German in the sense that they seem to be, going backwards and forwards on timing. They seem to be more concerned with getting the German edition out properly than they are with everything. And I'm serious. And look, I'm happy it's in German, but I've never had any feedback from German people reading my book. I mean, I assume they buy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do from Korean and Spanish and other people once in a while, but so
El Valor del Arte.
Yeah. So I said, okay. I said, I'm not removing it. This is written for a global audience, right? And I said, actually, because of what's happened, I want to add a sentence. Saying that basically, and when Documenta opened, the German government requested that this particular thing, whatever it was, and I didn't, and I pointed out trying to point out to this editor who I've never met.
Yes.
I'm giving fact and opinion, right? I'm not making policy choice.
Yes. Yep.
This is what is. It's a lot. This is factual. It's not like. But when I think about it further, and I think about it now, it really is such an important inflection point because it's really, if you're going to invite the third world into the art world, you're going to have to deal with a much, much messier situation politically and socially than you've got an art world now, which is basically a first world art world, where the rules are according to countries like Israel or Germany or Denmark or the United States, right? And if you're going to open it up to guerrillas in Myanmar, to a collective made out of guerrillas who have been fighting oppression for 30 years, and their points of view or their art hinges on the fact that they believe that there's a that they have a different perspective, and they may feel that, as do many Jewish people in Israel, but not so many outside, that the policy against the Palestinians is apartheid. I mean, that's something that's actually believed and taken as a fact by many. No, it's not a minority.
Sure. I think outside of Israel as well. Yeah, no.
No, what I'm saying is that outside of Israel, yes. But Jews in America,
yes.
If you say BDS, they say you're anti-Semitic. In other words, there's no space there.
Right.
Whereas when I was in Israel, briefly, it was a long time, 20 years ago, meeting taxi drivers and Israelis and Arabs and people, it was quite clear to me that the people in the street had much more nuanced notions, and there were many more people there who do believe and want, although they're not optimistic about it, that you could have a two-party, a two-state country. But the point is that
was Netanyahu in power then? When was this?
Yeah, but it's really there hasn't been a leader who any leader who would go in that direction would not get reelected,
right?
Because the conservatives have the money behind the politics.
Yeah. Okay. I want to back up to two things. So one thing you talked about, if you're going to invite like this Indonesian collective, and then you have to expect, and this is exactly what happens this is how white supremacy works in corporate America. You can see it played out in the media with individuals, but basically invite someone to a space, a person of color, an organization of color, an othered organization, disabled, group, individual, whatever. Don't give them any tools or mentorship. Invite them in, give them sort of carte blanche to do it their own way, but don't really mean that. Then, when they don't do it the way you expected them to, blame them forever, blame them for why you actually will never do that again, and why it was not a good idea in the first place, and why we were going to continue to uphold white supremacy. It's not an intentional tactic, but this is just how the cycle works. So that just has to be called out. And then the other part is this idea of, this is going all the way back. Because it's actually, we'll blame the collective, but both the collective and the government had the same perspective, which is the German government, which is, well, we don't do oversight. That's not our place. Now the German government has reversed and said, we will now review all. And I'm asking you, Michael Findlay, art expert, what do you,
you've identified it very accurately because you're saying basically to the other, you come to my dinner party, right? You please come to my dinner party. You're amusing, you're interesting, you're different.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so Jackson Pollock comes to your dinner party and he pisses in the fireplace, right? And you say, oh my God, you don't come here again. You're horrible. You're an animal. You don't know how to behave. You're well, I didn't pretend to be anything other than you could have done more homework, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
to find out what my culture is, right?
Right.
But you assumed that I was going to behave the way you behave or you wanted me to behave, right? Those are your rules, right? So the German government say, you do what you want until it offends us or offends another country that we don't want to
That
offend,
we strategically can't
right?
defend. Yes,
If
yes.
you want to go and offend there's some people you could plenty
I'm
offensive
sure there.
things.
Yeah, I'm sure other offensive things were left in.
They
and
were, of course they were,
Yeah.
because those people had no leverage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's about leverage. It's about power, and you know, that I'll tell you this, that what I also mentioned in the book, Hans Hacker, who is a Swiss New York artist, who he's still around, and he's always done very, very controversial works. He did a piece in Keniston McShine's Information Show. This is 1970, where he did a petition in the exhibition, was part of the exhibition. Do you support David Rockefeller's policy on Vietnam? And David Rockefeller was, no, Governor Nelson Rockefeller. Nelson Rockefeller's brother was the head. I mean, it was like, anyway, they got away with it, right? They got away with it. But then he did a piece which he'd been working on for a number of years, which was basically investigative journalism on the slumlord ownership of South Bronx and Harlem tenements.
Yes.
With charts and names.
Yep.
Of course, all the names were Jewish, and this was going to go into a exhibition at the Guggenheim Museum, and he was canceled. He was completely canceled. Because there were because of power, because people had power to do that. It was
back to
it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
I don't know what's going to happen with this, but it's like they're saying it's a failure, they made a mistake, you know, but we'll see what comes out of it, because I think there's probably some very interesting art that's, you know, I'm not saying controversial or not controversial, but just that there is new stuff that will have been seen there first.
Right. No, and then the other part of the article that, you know, that jumped out at me, of course, was this notion that, you know, all these other artists who had nothing to do with this controversy are now affected because, especially, I guess, where it's happening is now, the press is now being sort of, well, this event is over, this is, you know, they're trying to just treat it as like a wash, and just, but it's still going on, and all these artists are still invested, they came here, they, you know, and so now they're and from all over the world, and again,
so it's as if the door is being closed.
Wait,
so it's like you invite the one person in. Can you hear me?
You froze for a second, but yeah, I can hear you now.
You invite the one person in, they don't behave, and then you say, well, we don't want your friends, we don't want anybody like that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right, like.
But then, okay, but what about, I mean, what about the and this goes for like art, well, no, I mean, art fairs, obviously, every booth is responsible for their own content, but I mean, I'm talking about not necessarily government sponsored, but like events and things. Who's responsible for curation? Who's responsible for, I guess, oversight? And where does curation versus oversight versus freedom of expression, where is that line? I guess I'm asking, I mean, your opinion.
In my opinion, is because some museums are private, I mean, around the world, some museums are private and some museums get their money from the government. But regardless, museum directors and curators have been and continue to have to be extremely sensitive to the requirements of their constituency, how they define that,
Sure.
And that's not easy to define.
Sure.
Because their trustee constituency comes from a completely different background as most of their public constituency, right?
Yes, yes.
And the artist's constituency of artists also a different class of people or different type. So they have to, so they have to be as inoffensive as possible to as many people as possible while being inclusive and diverse. So it's difficult, and a lot of in the last few years, a lot of them have got into a lot of trouble, and they've been fired, and
Yeah.
they've made missteps in every direction, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
The I mean, one of the core issues, which again is the issue, is I call it, it's the pipeline issue. You have all of these, most of these institutions have predominantly white and predominantly male older trustees. They do not, their boards are not diverse, right? If they had more diverse boards, the directors wouldn't have to be as careful, because they'd be getting communication and feedback from the boards. In other words, they would be getting, you know, some support and encouragement to go in this direction or that direction. But at the moment, you've got, you know, you had this at the Whitney Museum where the vice chairman of the board was making money from gas bombs that were being used by the Israeli, right? And the artist said, you got to get him off the board.
Yeah. No.
And the director of the Whitney said, that's not my job. Well, the point is, the guy got off the board.
Right.
I mean,
no, for sure. Okay. Okay, and we have less than 10 minutes now. Last week we were talking about term limits, and you had compared it to your own experience on boards.
Yes.
So first of all, if you are ever leaving any boards and you want to nominate a young person,
Okay.
I will join any board. And I obviously don't have your perspective, but I have a perspective that.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Good.
But we were talking about term limits. Just, I mean, well, for specifically, we started with the Supreme Court. We were talking about Congress. We're talking about, I mean, politics, but just in general, this idea, to me, as a concept, I get it, but I also feel like it can be ageism. I also think, to me, it's the duality between, yes, people become, especially in politics, become entrenched, or on boards or whatever, become entrenched in their power and then continue to consolidate it, versus people are also experienced, and sometimes people get reelected over and over, and especially if it's an elected position. Why do you have term limits on an elected position? If people are willing to vote them in, why would you?
No, that's true. No, I agree. Yeah, if they're voted in, they're voted in.
So, yeah. but then the Supreme Court obviously is the one, you know. So I don't know, but I guess, do any thoughts or update? We started to talk about it. We didn't really finish it.
I think, yeah, I think the middle ground probably what NYFA is doing is that every 3 years, each board member does a kind of a self-review or a review with another board member regarding how they feel about continuing, about contributions. I don't just mean monetary, but in other words, a kind of an update, and it's not punitive, it's not critical, but it is a, you know, how am I doing? How are you doing? Kind of thing. And I think that's probably appropriate, and it could give someone cause to say, well, you know what, I'm not pulling my weight. I'll make a donation every year, but I don't think I can't do all the committee work. Whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, it's the committee work that I find now the most onerous, in a sense, you know.
Can I?
But,
oh no, go ahead.
No, go. That's it. So
yeah. Well, two things. I mean, one thing my organization did, again, we're a touchy-feely, unnamed West Coast nonprofit. They did away with any financial requirements, and actually, not our organization, but some organizations, especially if you're trying to bring in more diverse perspectives to a board, actually compensation to the board, you know, which, but again, by need versus by, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, But
We
yeah,
do that. We don't require artists on the board to give anything
right.
other than
Right.
their time and expertise. In fact, all of them do end up giving something, a few $100 if they have it, and all
Mhm.
of them are available to the staff and the constituents for advice, etc. So, I think it's a very good system. But you still need money bags. You still need money
Mhm.
bags. So
No, I know. Yes, but there are other ways. Well, um, yeah. Uh,
I'm going to throw out a name for next discussion.
sure.
Okay,
I'm listening.
this has nothing to do with what we've talked about. This
Yep.
has to do with pop music history.
Okay.
The name is Alma Cogan, Cogan. Alma Cogan,
Elma.
who was the best-selling UK singer of the 50s and 60s, early 60s.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay.
ALMA.
Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah. 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 I'm on it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So think Amy Winehouse
Yes.
and think John Lennon. Okay.
Yes. Okay. We've been.
And
I
we're
haven't
talking
been.
about consistent inconsistency in in the history of music. When you think things have changed radically,
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
how they turn the corner, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
No.
that's
That's
just, and
okay.
I'll tell you, I didn't know anything. I didn't know this name
Okay.
until I was reading a detective book written by an English guy, probably my age, set in the 60s. And one character gives
Oh.
another character a rose, which, quote, was named after Alma Cogan, the
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
who's Alma Cogan, the singer? Never heard of her.
Okay, and you had to look it up, and it sent you on
Yeah, I looked
on
it
a thing.
up. And
Okay,
wow.
who is Celine? You mentioned a bunch of artists, and one of them was a jazz musician whose name I didn't recognize. I'm now.
Oh, oh,
Hold on, I'm looking for it. I'll find it. I'm looking through your tweets there or your
yeah.
text. Uh, wow, we text a lot. I love you, Dad. I always love.
Listen to her. She's quite amazing. She's quite an amazing jazz singer.
Yeah, we'll talk. No, we'll talk more music
Okay,
next time. Next time we'll make a plan to talk some music.
okay.
Do we? Do we want to talk about Hampton Bladder? I never like the.
I think this is a fake news. I think this is fake news.
Yeah, because it doesn't even people. You stop
No,
halfway.
because
There's
first of
so many.
all, we all know at Cumberland Farms, which is halfway, they have indoor, which is often wet and slimy, but outdoor they have two porta potties.
Mhm.
And we all know, from truckers to Rolls Royces, we know where those porta potties are, believe me. And they are cleaned twice a week. I make
Right.
sure.
No. Right.
So we got it. We got it. It's okay.
Because I mean I've done that ride dozens and dozens of times, and I don't have the largest bladder in the world, and I've never thought about it, and I understand it's
No,
because other people have plotted our trip,
it's
and
actually
you guys always.
the difficult thing is when you're coming into the city
Mm,
and
and
you're
then you hit that traffic,
delayed,
and then you
and
have
you're
no.
told it's going to be 40 minutes instead of 20 minutes,
Right.
then you better have a milk bottle.
They
Okay?
no that. Okay. Yeah.
And we do. Okay.
Okay.
Love
I
you,
love you
son.
so much, Dad. I'm so glad
Yeah.
we get to talk each week. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. All right. Bye.